In this video, we're going to be talking about the capture phase of the CORE4MULA program. So Ken, capturing a new prospect is really how you start things off. I mean, until you have that lead in the system, you can't really do very much else with them. Can you talk a little bit about sort of the importance of capturing a lead and what we're capturing and what we're doing with it?
Yeah. So one of the things that I think is really interesting is a lot of people are doing a lot of things to get leads in the door, but once they get them in the door, they're not doing a whole lot with them, right? It's, well, I made a phone call. Well, I sent them an email, or I did one thing one time. They came to a seminar, and I've been doing something, right, since then. We look at this and say, when somebody raises their hand and says, hey, I am interested in what you have, there needs to be a specific and coordinated set of actions that's going to be taking place. And in order to organize all of that, it needs to be put into a system that's going to really allow us to take predictable action, right? That's really making this a system for consistent follow-up.
So when we're initially capturing somebody's information, and it might be for any purpose like an appointment or a phone call or showing up at a live event or attending a webinar, what's the type of stuff that we want to be collecting initially?
So there are a lot of theories out there about the effectiveness of various capture methodologies. We all have seen the studies, I imagine, that says the fewer pieces of information you're collecting, the more information or more people who are going to give it to you, right? So if all I ask you for is your email address, I'm going to get more people giving me that than if I'm asking for 30 things.
So total investable assets and things like that, right? There's less friction.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so where we've kind of settled is a middle ground, which is I want to know your first and last name, I need to know your email address, and I need to know a phone number. I need to have contact details so that I, as the advisor, can reach out and take action, and that I'm not beholden to you taking action. I want to put myself as the advisor in the driver's seat instead of simply allowing the prospect to drift aimlessly amongst my information.
Sure. So capturing leads used to be a fairly straightforward and easy thing to do. People would visit a website and maybe you'd say, sign up for our newsletter, and people would join your email list.
Yeah.
These days, there's a lot more friction when it comes to getting people to join a list. So the process of capturing a lead needs to be, I think, providing a great deal more value to the consumer out there. Can you talk a little bit about the process for getting somebody to willingly hand over their contact information?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that has changed, and the internet has really changed over time for us, is consumer access to information. What that means largely is there's no individual piece of information that they don't have access to that we can provide. However, what we can provide is organization of that information. And so oftentimes what we encourage advisors to do is to produce something like a lead magnet or a tripwire, a tool that is either paid or unpaid, that is an organization of available information that allows the customer to get access to that info that they can get any number of places very quickly and easily.
So lead magnets and tripwires, these are marketing terms that we use. An example of a lead magnet might be a PDF that is speaking to solving a specific problem or addressing a particular question that a prospective client might have.
Yeah.
So give an example or two.
Yeah,
of how
so it might be something like, I think very common in the industry is 10 questions to ask your financial advisor. Your retirement checklist is another really common one that we see out there. Now, most of these have the same information, but they're packaged very differently because they're being packaged for a specific audience that advisor is going after. And so I think that there's two ways that we can build lead magnets. One is speaking to the hope of gain that a prospect has, and the other is speaking to the fear of loss that they might have. And so 10 critical mistakes to avoid in investing your money. That's going to speak to a very specific group of people. In the same way, and a lead magnet like 10 ways to grow your financial portfolio might speak to a different group of people.
You bring up an interesting point, which is that that first one is a very emotional reaction. The second one is probably not as emotional. It speaks a little bit to desire for more money, perhaps. But we know as marketers that people are driven by emotion, and it's one thing that I think is very challenging to utilize emotion in the advisor world.
Yeah.
Talking about financial services in general, it's a very dry subject for most people. But when you introduce emotion into the process in a careful and compliant way, it can be highly, highly effective.
Exactly, and that's one of these things is we have to kind of walk this tightrope of saying, look, there's regulations that basically say we can't manipulate people's emotions.
Yes.
In order to put them in a financial disadvantage, let's say. On the flip side, people have these emotions, and they're looking for solutions to meaningful problems that they have. And I think that it's that kind of a thing that we want to speak to and we really want to address and say, look, I'm the expert for you. And the more someone can interact with this type of content, the more trust we're able to build over time.
So we have a lot of advisors who tell us, that's great, I don't do any advertising. In fact, I build my entire business through networking. So talk a little bit about how the networking approach to capturing leads works within our system as well.
Absolutely. So networking for me is a bit of a passion. I love that environment. I know you hate it, but I personally really enjoy it. And so what we did is we built an automation system that allows you to go to an event, whether it's Chamber of Commerce, an evening event, a client event, what have you, and basically use modern technology to put all of those people into a database and have meaningful follow-up go to them immediately. And it could be something as simple as, hey, it was great to meet you. But again, how many of us have gone to an event, come home, or already have a stack of business cards in our desk that just sit there and collect dust? I was talking to a guy yesterday. He showed me a stack of business cards at least 3 inches high. At least.
I have boxes of stacks like that in my desk.
Yeah, and he said, you know what? I've collected these. This is my stack of people I want to talk to. Well, what are you doing with them? Well, they sit here on my desk. Do we talk to these people? No. And so my whole thing is, we've got to take action. Imperfect action is better than no action. And I think so often we don't take action because of time, but we're already investing time, and so we end up wasting all this time. And so the whole point behind network is, let's take networking and take the idiot factor, which is me, out of it. Let's have a system that's going to do the follow-up and is going to drive appointments for you. For me, when I put this in place in our business, I would say we got a very predictable 50%. Half the people that went in there that I never expected to talk to would end up contacting or reaching out to me for an appointment. This is much different than the reality of, hey, I've got 30 business cards. I'm going to choose the 3 guys that I think are the best prospects. I'm going to send a message to them. And so network, I think, is one of the most powerful things that we've ever built, especially for people who are using that as a business growth methodology.
Excellent. Well, that's the capture portion of the overall Core Formula program. There's a lot more to it, and we're going to talk a little bit more in subsequent videos about some of the other pieces of the Core Formula program as well. In our next video, we're going to be talking about the nurture phase of Core Formula.